All right. Well, I think this is actually our first dev talk.
Yes, it is. It is.
For everybody watching, just a little introduction for who we are. Um, we are the Bobux brothers and the owners of Unknown Value Studios. And Tenelix, go ahead and introduce himself.
Hi. Well, you may already know me as Tenno, but I also go by Fogger. There's a long story behind that, but it's how we go with our YouTube channel now, and I enjoy a lot of it. So, anyway, I'm a developer. I am the model and graphics designer for Unknown Value Studios, as well as the lead developer. I kind of organize all of the planning going for. Actually, that's my partner's job, the project manager. I basically delegate responsibility to my team to ensure that the game gets done properly, because I understand the workflow and the scripting that needs to be done for a working game. Anyway, we've been working on this project that we actually published back in October 9th. We call it Hazard Miners, and I'll tell you more about that in a bit.
So I'm Echo Sierra. I had played Roblox in the past before, but it wasn't until my friend here was in game development, and I saw a lot of opportunity there, and I got interested, and I decided, you know what, let me see how I can help out. And on the project management side, I have familiarization with that, outside in this real world, and tried to see what I could bring over to help there. And my Roblox skills and knowledge was very minimum, and it still is a learning curve, but I've learned a lot through our production of Hazard Miners, and and that's where we're at today. So we're working on our next update for that, which is going to be our next topic here. So
That actually,
Hazard
well, before I talk about that, it reminds me back when I was talking to you about Roblox at Burger King. And I mean, at that time, because you were like, "Oh, you're supporting me." You're like, "Good job." But I was very excited about Roblox. I didn't really have anyone else to share that excitement with. You finally joined my team, and it wasn't until then where you really understood the potential of Roblox and where it could take us. And now I'm working with you, and it really has pushed our game forward to progress. So, yeah, all for the better.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was the question you had for Hazard Miners?
Yeah. So go ahead and tell us, what is Hazard Miners, and how did you come up with this idea?
All right. So it wasn't until June when I started working on Hazard Miner, and it was with my brother back then. He's no longer on the team for reasons. He's just not interested in development like I was. But the idea started out with simple mine generation, where a grid of blocks would mine, and players would spawn into the game, and they would just mine down in order to actually find rare items. The rare items being UGC, which is also known as user-generated content. Commonly see it on the marketplace all the time. But we ran into a little obstacle while working on the game, and we didn't realize that UGCs would cost a lot of Robux to upload and then put into a game. And that's where we kind of, our progress halted temporarily. Wouldn't have been able to afford any of that at that time, because I had not received a job. I guess it was still June. I had not received a job, so I had no Robux. And then we had to think about that problem for a little bit. Finally decided, what makes a mining game unique than any other? Well, I've never seen a mining game with Hazard, and that's what we based it off of. Decided Hazard would be really cool and fun for a Roblox player to experience. And so right now we have this setup where we have biomes, and within each biome there is a specific hazard. Right now, our kaboom biome, specific biome would be a kaboom block, and those blocks explode upon contact with either mining pickaxe or just simply touching. We also have a darkness biome. The disaster within that biome right now is shadow block. Touch it, you get absorbed and sucked into the block, causing damage to a player. We have bigger plans, hazards upcoming in the future, and ideally we would like to add several more hazards because we don't want it to remain consistent to a point where it just becomes like redundant and same thing over and over again. But I would like to preferably add a hazard within every layer. And by layers, there's a layer within every 100 blocks depth. So you mine 100 blocks down, there is a new hazard unique to its level, and it continues on. Now, apart from hazard, the other unique concept would be caves. And I believe caves right now, one of the bigger priorities for this game before we do anything extra. And caves alone will open up many doors for future updates. And these updates could be including dungeons. You could find monsters in caves. And you could even do collectibles. There would be basically a quest system where it tells you to search for a certain collectible within a cave. And that's my idea behind it. But we do not plan to actually take any big moves with the advertisement of the game until those updates have been released. Because right now, at this point in time, we're still not confident that the game is going to do well because of the lack of content. But we are progressively better as we move on. Anyway, Echo, what do you got?
Yeah, I think if I was to describe hazard miners and what it is it's essentially, you get the grind you get from Minecraft of, digging for different ores and upgrading your gear. And with the upcoming updates we have, that's where the adventure comes in. Just the base, core game loop alone of grinding for better pickaxes, better ores, for UGCs, for whatever you're trying to obtain. The core game loop's there, but we want to add a little bit of fun and adventure to it. And we floated ideas of dungeons, caves, different hazards, and there's so much more to implement into the game, and we hope to be able to do so, especially over this next month here, before we start advertising. And it's a fun game once you get into it and get a little addicting. But definitely with the new features we're bringing about, it should bring a lot more fun and adventure to it.
Right, definitely.
So with the development of not just hazard miners, but any game you've worked on, what has been just the one biggest challenge you can think of that comes to mind as a developer?
Well, even as a new developer at that time, when I first started out, the most common challenge, scope creep. And essentially what that means, take your initial idea, continuously expand upon that idea. It's intended to be a minimal viable product, trying to get a little amount of the game out before you make it on it. But I've always had a problem where I've wanted to add more to the game before actually uploading, and it has caused a lot of wasted time. Specifically, my first game that was under development, called Leaf Blowing Simulator. It was supposed to be just a simple leaf blowing simulator where a player would join, blow leaves, and exchange it for coins just to upgrade their leaf blowers. But I kept expanding and adding ideas to it, like adding an arena to the game, and leaf blowers could be used to actually fight against people, and they would have their own certain abilities. But the problem was, I didn't have the resources at that time. My team was unreliable, and I could not get anything done. And we ended up working on that project for 6 months with really little amounts of progress made. And it turned out that we just never completed the project, as it got to the point where I felt sick to my stomach thinking about it, how much time I have spent on a game for it to go nowhere. And it really kills you. It really kills the motivation just a developer in general, if they spend a lot of time, to go nowhere. And I've been working a lot with my project manager, and it's really turned things around. I honestly didn't really think I would ever publish my first game until I had partnered with Echo, and Hazard Miners may not even be published today if I hadn't had made that partner. But he's the guy who keeps me in line, because I always, he knows it too, I always try to add ideas to the game, even if it's not like a priority. You just gotta focus on things one step at a time. Anyway, Echo, what do you got?
He's definitely very generous there, but yeah, I mean, the way I when I see it, when I look at Roblox games that, you know, were never published, or you look at other people's journeys, and the more and more I've learned over the past couple months, is that a lot of people have a good idea, or whatever it is, whether it's good or bad, they have an idea for a game, and they start down, you know, the path, whether it's to make money or just for the fun of making the game. And where they get stuck is they start to realize that there's actually a lot that goes into a game. I mean, even on Roblox, where there's a platform that's already kind of made for you, that makes this a little easier, more streamlined. You still have to script, you still have to get sound effects, you still have to get animations, you still have to model everything. I mean, you can go with free models, but that's not really the best way to go. And if you don't have skills in Blender, like Tenelix does, then, you know, you have to hire someone else to do it. And now you're using your Robux to pay for others to do work for you. And you know, I think what I found to be the toughest part is definitely the scripter. You know, not only finding a good developing team, but finding a good scripter especially is tough. You know, it's not an easy task, and you know, some of the things you might need for a game might be challenging too. So you know, I'd say definitely finding a good scripter can make or break your team. On top of everything else, like you said, scope creep. You know, if you have an idea and you just start adding to it like crazy, this simple idea you had now just, you know, grows out of control, and now it just seems like a task you'll never complete. You'll never be able to finish this game because there's so much involved. And then so a lot of people drop off and they don't make it to the final stages. And so but we've made it here. We made it to beta testing. It took some time, but, you know, we were able to stay focused and figure out, you know, what we wanted. And obviously we're improving on the game for its final release update, for its official, you know, you could call it alpha version. And yeah, so we're working on our way there.
Oh yeah, and I'm excited for that. Can't wait until this game pops off. The amount of time we've spent on it already, it's insane. Like, we've gone a long way since July.
So what have you kind of learned, you know, along the way, that if you were to take one lesson from the development of Hazard Miners so far, for a new and young developer, what would that be?
Well, I would honestly just say, sure that you have a reliable. We've had a lot of issues with the past, and we've had to hire on 4 different scripters at this time. We currently have a new scripter. He's proving to do all right. I mean, I can't complain too much, but progress still isn't done as fast as we would like. But having reliable teams gives you the confidence that you know a project will get completed, and it eliminates the fear of wasting time. And I mean, as a modeler and a graphic designer, I only have a couple of skill sets that I can utilize. So being able to rely on other people to do the other skills that I can't is very important. So, like, it depends on where you go to find your team. I've typically found my team devs. It's not like the best core group that I've been a part of. It's definitely got like a toxicity, but I found all my workers there. But you could also find developers, Twitter. You can even outsource to YouTube. Sometimes people love to help. But you really, sometimes it involves a little bit of luck. You got to find your people. And you got to find the people that are willing to invest time in you in hopes of future profit. Because not, how would I say this? Many people are only looking for profit and not sign on without a guarantee that they're going to make something. And that usually just means that the game has to be making revenue already. And as a new developer, you're not going to be making revenue. So you just got to find the right people. And it's hard, I know, but it's a stage that we all go through.
Yeah, so we've talked about hazard miners. We've talked about the development it took us to get there and the challenges along the way, and kind of introduced ourselves and who we are. Now I kind of want to pivot and let's talk about this next update we have coming out for hazard miners. So just to recap, we're at 10,000 visits, at 73 likes, and we've grown our group to just over 400 so far. So that's what our growth has been in the beta version, and we're obviously hoping for much more, and this is all without advertising, of course. But we've taken the feedback from players, a good amount of players, some that played it, and came back and back and back again, and some that weren't in very long but had a few things to say, and some friends of ours who tested it. And throughout this time, we've gathered some feedback, and we've been ready to roll out an update. So why don't you give us like a short overview of what's coming out specifically in this update?
Well, for this update alone, we are focused primarily on caves, and some of the obstacles that we're working through at the moment is whether the caves fully generate, giving no open space for the void. Currently, there is void that will show up as the generation occurs. And the other obstacle is optimization. I find that as I mine down, there is plenty of lag to share for everyone. It doesn't seem fun at the moment because we've got these problems. It ruins the player experience. But hopefully soon, I hope tomorrow, next day over, those problems will be fixed. We will be able to release an update for caves. But caves alone, just kind of like I said earlier in the video, they open up the door for many future updates ahead, and you would be able to expect your dungeons and your monsters that you could fight. It just gives more content, and that's what our goal is. Anyway, Echo.
Yeah, no, I mean, it opens up the door to adventure. Really is what it is, and I've played other mining games on Roblox with the similar aspect where you have whatever size of floor space, 10 by 10 or larger, 20 by 20. That is a pit that regenerates, and you just keep mining. And what I didn't really enjoy about the other games was either I had to only mine 10 blocks before my inventory was full, or my pickaxe was super slow at mining, or it didn't feel like there was a lot of weight to it or adventure. It was just mine, go sell, and lots of things to buy and customize. And so what I think really differs with the hazard miner game we have is one, it's very fast paced. The pickaxes are not slow. There's slight differences with every pickaxe, but I mean, you're constantly moving, and it's your mining blocks super fast. And so having that optimization at the speed that the game flows at is almost important. Otherwise, it takes away from the entire point of the gameplay. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. Being that our pickaxes mine as fast as they do, and they don't have that traditional speed upgrade per pickaxe. If we can't mine down fast, we have to wait on lag or generation occur, ruins the player experience. So, I mean, to go off on a tangent, these pickaxes are supposed to have their own special abilities. That's point 2. And ideally, like if I were to explain one, let's just consider an explosion ability. It would explode maybe 10 to 20 blocks with the use of the ability, and having an unoptimized generation of blocks that would cause a lot of lag. But yeah, moving forward, Echo.
No, I mean that definitely would slow it down, and it takes away from player experience. And then again, the adventure portion is definitely something that, dare I use the term revolutionary, because there has not been a mining game that I've seen, at least, that has any sort of adventure to it. That any cave systems or dungeons or quests or things, outside of just mine blocks, upgrade your pickaxe, right? And that's it, right? So, we're doing something totally different here, and so we're hoping to make it work. And any feedback that any of you have, continue to send it our way, and we'll definitely take it under consideration. Additionally, with hazard miners, you get a different kind of environment too. That's something I kind of want to talk about. Is most of the mining games I've played, it's above ground, it's a sunny day. It's kind of like this pretty farm, environment feeling, which I don't know. I mean, I didn't really get this mining feel from it. It felt like I said, like I'm on a farm or I'm in a village. Where with ours, I mean, it's a whole different feel. I mean, it's you're in a cave, right? I mean, to start, it's a mine shaft, really. And even the colors, the backgrounds, the model, everything just it's so different from what we've seen out there. And so, as the lead developer, would you have any thoughts on that, of what went into creating that lobby the way you did, and that atmosphere that's so different?
Well, I used a little bit of help from the internet, of course. I had to find my inspiration. And it wasn't until, I think, halfway through the production of the game where I decided for example, I had it as more of a beach setting before, to be honest with you. But I did switch over to the cave because it seemed like it made more sense. And it started off using more polished type rocks too. It wasn't as jagged as you in the map. And then I think I tried to remake the map maybe twice over, and it wasn't until the second time that I got the results that I wanted. And I think as time went by, I kept adding more and more to the map itself. It was really basic and it felt empty, but I had a few people go and explore the map, and they had generally some good feedback. And that's where I came up with the idea to add in different decorations for I guess the Halloween event. I had these massive pumpkins. I added in stone pickaxes as monuments and little statues, little decoration statues that had their own little dialogue, just to add into that mystery of the cave, because it's supposed to be something more than just a basic lobby, in my opinion. And then I guess the railroad that you in the map, I have more ideas I would like to use for it, and it's even been brought up with my project manager, but he thinks that it would be a good idea to add in work mine, simply just because players might want to ride the cart across the lobby. It seems like a pretty cool idea. And I've even envisioned mine carts or some sort of, I guess, stealing. For example, have you ever watched Monster and you watch the doors and they're on the ceiling, but they're getting moved across the ceiling because they're connected to some sort of rail situation? I kind of envision that in Cave as well, having those, I guess, mine carts or something else driven around on the ceiling with a rotor. I just think it would add into, I guess, how cool the map would look. But yeah, that's what I got to say about the map.
Huh. Yeah, interesting to see what you come up with there.
It usually works out.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, creating a lobby that's fun and inviting, and there's definitely a feeling when you're in a good game, and that it just feels right in the lobby. Where there's some games where it's just it's bland. There's just flat walls. There's nothing really to it. Now, I mean, that being said, the gameplay is the most important part. People don't always want to hang in the lobby, but I mean, some Roblox players do, and it's just that initial feeling when you get into the game, and that initial excitement, and the lobby is kind of that catch and hook.
Yeah.
So it's really important to invest in a good and fun and lobby as well, especially kind of like ours where we have the OB and it's a little hidden, but it's
The hobby.
but it's something different. It's something fun and different that players can find and explore with. So
Right. And I didn't think people would want an hobby in the lobby. Okay, those two words don't sound but basically when we came out with that map and saw our first players game, it was surprising, the feedback. They all wanted an obby, so that's what we did. The next day over, we released the game with the new update and cool little obby, and maybe in the future we would add some little prize the obby, but right now it's just simply in the map for you to enjoy and explore a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm excited for this next update, and thank you everyone for joining us. This wraps up what we have for the week and new updates for the game. But we'll be back next week with more updates and see where we're at. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tenlix, for joining.
Of course. Yeah, thank you guys. It's been great talking to you about it. We'll see you next time.